Hey there, it's Steve from Serious Keto, and this is the Not So Serious Keto video podcast. A couple of weeks ago, when I did my first ever promo on this channel, which was for porkrinds.com, I was expecting a little bit of pushback from people, and I was pleasantly surprised at how supportive you all are. I mean, promos really are starting to become a necessity, just in order to keep the channel up and running. And I'm glad that you understand that and appreciate that I'm not going to overwhelm you with promos, and I'm not going to promote any product that I myself don't use and believe in. I did get a number of people who asked me, why isn't Keto Chow a sponsor of the podcast? And there's a very good reason for that. And that reason is, this podcast is brought to you in part by Keto Chow, the nutritionally complete keto meal replacement shake. Longtime viewers of this channel know that I was initially pretty apprehensive about even trying Keto Chow. In my mind, Serious Keto was a cooking channel, and Keto Chow was a competitor to cooking as a meal replacement. Since then, my attitude has evolved that really the reason I'm here, or want to be here, is to help support your ketogenic lifestyle. Sometimes that means making your own food, sometimes that means buying it. And for me, and for a number of you, Keto Chow is part of that equation. I find it's especially important for me, being a solo keto person in a non-keto household. There is no shortage of non-keto snacks, whether that's chips or crackers or candy or cookies. And for me, having a shaker bottle of Keto Chow in the fridge is my safety net. When I get a snack attack, I go to the Keto Chow. And right now, Keto Chow is offering what I consider to be their best seasonal flavors. There's pumpkin spice caramel, maple waffle, pecan sticky bun, gingerbread, and my wife's favorite, eggnog. Now, I am a little bit biased. I think the very best flavor out there is pecan sticky bun. So if you want to get in on these fall flavors or any flavors of Keto Chow, I will include a link down below in the description. You can get 10% off your Keto Chow purchase, except for subscriptions, because those are already discounted and you can't stack discounts. So there you go, my first Keto Chow promo. I'm going to keep promos for any given company to one per month. So the next time you'll see a Keto Chow promo again will be December, probably. But now on with our podcast, and I think in this one, it's going to be a lot of shorter topics. So hopefully this clips along at a fairly good pace. The first thing I want to talk about is I didn't do a recipe video last Friday. Actually, I recorded it, and as I was recording it, I realized I can do better. As I was making the actual food, the actual recipe, I was coming up with ideas to improve it. And once I did the taste test, it kind of bared out those ideas. So rather than release a video that I felt was not up to my standards, even though my family liked it, I'm going to re-record that and release it this Friday. And the reason I bring this up is it's a bit of a conundrum that I face. I have very high standards for myself, and I'm always sort of working towards perfection. In fact, one of my favorite TV shows, cooking shows, and it was only on the BBC, but I think you might be able to find it here on YouTube. If it is available, I'll link to it down below. But it is one of my favorite chefs in the world, Heston Blumenthal. The guy is total mad scientist. He's like Alton Brown and then some, because he adds in the element of modernist cuisine. And he will take a food and just work it and work it and work it to perfection. Actually, beyond the point that most rational human beings would actually put that amount of time into cooking something like French fries. And periodically, this is where the conundrum comes in, I find myself going down that same rabbit hole. I try a recipe and I think, it's not good enough. It's 90% there. It's 95% of the way there. And I want to work it all the way there. But I also don't want to overcomplicate it. I don't want to turn people off by too many ingredients or too much effort. So that's really the struggle I face. Now, fortunately, with this recipe that's going to come out on Friday, the tweaks to it are subtle. It's still very few ingredients, and it's not going to add a whole lot of extra effort into making it, but I think it's going to make a far better recipe. That's all I'm going to tell you about it, but it should be coming this Friday. And also, just to let you know, that's something that I struggle with. Sometimes, do I want to make just a simple, easy, accessible recipe, or do I want to make something more gourmet? And the answer is yes to both. So I think you're going to consistently see both of those on this channel, and you just choose whichever you prefer, unless you prefer both. One of the topics that I have covered really ad nauseum on this channel is all the little different tribes or factions within the keto world and the labels that people create and how I'm not a big fan of those. So I'm not going to cover that in this video, other than to say that one of my viewers came up with what I think is a great name as opposed to ketovore. This term came from viewer NotRandom2, and it's Carneto. I kind of like it. It's a little bit exotic. Sounds a little bit like something you could get at Taco Bell. I'd like a Carneto, please. Anyhow, or it could also be like Carneto, like Neato. Either way, I think it's a fun little term. Not that I'm trying to create a new label or anything. I just kind of like Carneto. In a way, it kind of sounds like a character that Johnny Carson would do, like a magician, the great Carneto. I'm trying to remember the name of the psychic character that he used to do. You know, he would hold the envelope next to his head, you know, and say something like, a duck, a rake, and a plate of nachos. Actually, that wasn't a very good Johnny Carson imitation. I did not know that. Okay, maybe I should just stick to my own radio voice. Another topic that I covered, I think last week, was on chiropractors. And as I looked at my notes after I recorded the show, I realized that there were a couple of things, one in particular, that I wanted to bring up, which is I wasn't giving an endorsement of all chiropractors. Like any sort of doctor, there are good ones, there are bad ones. But to me, the big red flag, and my chiropractor is not this way. In fact, I need to go see him, actually, if you're watching this on Monday, because I did something to my shoulder. I know specifically what it was. I was getting some more ink done on the inside of my arm, and I had my arm out on this like little stand, and I think over the course of the whole tattooing process, I sort of dislocated my shoulder, and now it is popping out regularly, which is totally not awesome. I mean, I could actually do it for you right now. I've discovered the specific motion that causes it, but I'm not gonna, because I don't want anybody going like, "Ugh, that was horrible." But the red flag for me on chiropractors is when you walk into his or her office and it looks like a general nutrition center. There is just supplements all over the place. Connor had a back injury due to a car accident when he was in high school, and one of the other swim moms is also a chiropractor, and she said, well, I treat all of the people on the swim team. And when we walked into her chiropractic office for the first time, I was pretty certain I'd walked into a GNC. To me, that is an immediate sort of red flag. If someone is in the business of selling supplements, it's sort of like when someone tells you that you have a problem and they just happen to be selling the solution, I get really a little bit skeptical about all of that. So that was just one point I forgot to mention on the chiropractic thing. I'll let you know how things go with my shoulder. I'd mentioned earlier in the podcast that I really see this channel as supporting a ketogenic lifestyle. And that means for some people who want to cook, I'm a cooking channel. For some people that don't have the time or the aptitude to cook, I'm a product review channel. And even though I review products on a weekly basis, you should see the number of products that I turn down. I recently had a company, they are a keto confectioner. I'm not going to say any more than that. So the first thing I did is I got out onto the website and I looked at the carb count, both total and did my best to calculate net. And it wasn't something that I could in good conscience try and tell you people is keto. I didn't feel it was. And even though I am not the keto police or ingredient police, there are certain ingredients that I won't support a product that has them. And one of those ingredients, which is contained in this particular product, is palm kernel oil, which I can't support that. I mean, it's a trash oil. Well, let's talk about palm oil, and I've talked about it in the past. There's palm fruit oil, which is a good, not heavily processed seed oil. It's a quality oil, assuming that it's been harvested sustainably. I'm on board with palm oil, but palm kernel oil, I mean, it might as well be every other highly processed seed oil that used to be used as like industrial lubricant, and now we're putting it into our body. So I just want you to know that even though I do review some products periodically that have some sketchy ingredients, I have a line, and I'm not even going to waste anybody's time with products that have certain ingredients, especially those inflammatory seed oils. Now, before I get to my final topic, which I am pretty excited about, I just want to remind people I do have a Thanksgiving playlist. If you're creating sort of traditional Thanksgiving food and you want to keep it keto, check out that playlist. I'll link to it down in the description below, and I'll put it in the end card. Now, we're not going to do traditional Thanksgiving. To me, it's, I don't know. I like taking the other path. So probably we're going to be eating some sort of meat. I'll probably do something with beef tenderloin. Just thinking about beef tenderloin, I started to salivate there a little bit. Or maybe I'll do something out on the smoker. So if you want to do something that's a little bit out of the ordinary for Thanksgiving, you could also check out my barbecue and smoking and grilling recipes. I'll link to those down in the description as well. And that brings me to my final topic of the day, which is I'm really excited. Over the course of about a week and a half, I had two different people reach out to me to be a guest on somebody else's thing. In one case, it's a podcast, and it's Dr. Shawn Baker's podcast. So I'm excited to be part of that. We'll see what our opinions are, how much we agree on carnivore or not carnivore. But I've always thought that he's a pretty cool dude, and I'm very excited to be part of that. I also had an associate of Dr. Ken Berry reach out to me, and she's putting together an interview in front of, I think, some other healthcare professionals, and the two guests are going to be Dr. Ken Berry and me. And while that initially is going to be limited just to this particular consortium of healthcare professionals, it will eventually wind up on YouTube, I'm told. So I'm pretty excited about this. It's going to happen probably tail end of December, mid part of January is when we're going to record these things. So you never know. Moving pieces, moving parts. So maybe I shouldn't be quite so excited just in case something happens and I'll be let down. But I can't help myself. I've got a lot of respect for both of these gentlemen, and they're both heavy hitters here in the low-carb, keto, carnivore community. So it should be cool, and hopefully I'll get a little bit more exposure for the channel as well. Maybe next stop after that is Joe Rogan. We'll see. A man can dream, can't he? But that is going to be it for this video. Like I said earlier, I will include over here a couple of videos. Up here I'll put the Thanksgiving playlist, and I think right down here I'm going to put my bacon-wrapped sausage fatty. If you want to do something really special in the smoker, that's the one. But that is going to be it for this video. As always, thanks for spending a little bit of time with me. I enjoy spending my time with you. Thanks for watching.